Oh, okay. New mic, new cameras same, but the mic I have not used in conjunction with this camera. So I hope that it works. Um, Welcome back to my 30-day world building challenge world project. I hope you enjoyed yesterday's video based on the Netherese. We're going to talk more about them in the January months. I've got lots of interesting theories. We're going to theory craft what's going to happen to the world of Dungeons & Dragons. But today is going to be a combination of day 16, which was yesterday, and day 17, which is today. And we're going to talk about, I'm going to look right over there at my stuff, and we're going to talk about the limits of spec. So how magic works and what are the limits of that. We're going to talk about mood again, which I don't really know if that I need to touch on that. We're going to talk about constructs and interesting races, which should be interesting because I have not really plotted that out yet. Here we are, another wonderful day in the 30-day world building challenge. You guys are doing some really interesting, awesome stuff, and I like all of the comments. I like all the worlds coming together. This is really cool. We're going to dive into Notions since we're going to do 2 days today because I missed yesterday because of a sponsored video. But if you haven't checked that out, go check it out because I made a video on the Netheril, and it's got interesting. I don't know. I like that one. And I film my face. I use my new teleprompter, so that was kind of fun. We're going to jump over here to Notion. Again, notion.so. If you are interested in this software, it is free, and it is a web-based application to understand your just, it's like a wiki. It's really cool. They're doing really good stuff with it. So today we are going to talk about, we're going to do day 16, which was yesterday, and day 17, which is today. But we're going to do limits of spec, and are constructs common in your world? What is their role? Good questions. If we go to day 16, so this exercise really comes down to magic usually comes at a cost. What is that cost? So we want to know, like, what. I don't really have a good example of it other than I want to answer this question. Magic usually comes at a cost. What is that cost? And we have been talking about magic as actually like the vibrations of the universe, and that's my Forgotten Realms weave or it's the Star Wars Force. Like, it's the power of magic is learning how to attune to those vibrations and then manipulate it into a magical effect. And I like that. That coming from, casting a fireball, you're manipulating atoms to explode and things like that, or you're conjuring something to open up a doorway to the plane of fire and allow flames to come out. To doing a +1 sword. If you can get the right frequency in the metal that you're using, then it becomes better than normal and it won't rust because of its vibrational qualities. So I like this idea that magic is harmonics. Harmonics that we can't see. And this is all coming from Kepler, his theories of the universe in a Latin-based paper that he wrote called the Harmonica Mundi, I believe it's called. So he thought that there was a vibrational orchestra kind of harmony to the universe. And I like that idea, and I want to incorporate it in a magical sense. So limit of spec, I wrote down here, magically usually comes at a cost. What is the cost? So for a campaign setting, we have a lot of that established with the mechanics of the game. So if you don't have spell slots, you have spell burn maybe, or you have limitations on you can only do this so many times per long rest, or every time you use this, I don't know, an angel gets its wings, something crazy like that. So there is a way to mechanically do that. And I think for our campaign setting for Endagar, the cost that I want to talk about is not how many times can I cast a fireball in a day, but instead the cost for creating magic items, and that is your own life force. So the more higher magic that you create, or the more items that you magically create, permanent magical items, that takes its toll by aging you or taking your life force. And mechanically, it's going to lower your strength or constitution or dexterity. So you're going to lower those stats permanently. And then, so if max you can have is a 20 in a stat without some kind of magical whatever, then after you build this item, your max is going to be like an 18 or a 16 in that stat. And so you can still, scale up, but you're never going to be as good as other people who have not made magic items. And that really hurts wizards, but it also kind of makes them unique. And I like that. Now, the trade-off with that is you can bind a magical creature into that, which is going to jump over to, are there constructs common in your world, and what is their role? And I think in a way to circumvent enslaving devils or things like that, I think that constructs are not everywhere, but certain wizards have found out how to manipulate. Basically, if I can bind a devil into a sword to make a +1 magical sword that hurts unicorns for an extra d6 of damage, then I should be able to bind that same creature into a construct, and then that construct can take orders from me. Now, ultimately, if you use an evil creature, it's going to be an evil construct in some fashion. And that's a fun path. That's a fun avenue to explore with constructs. Or is a wizard putting so much of their energy into this construct that they themselves die, and maybe they are now living in this construct for a set amount of time, a magical being of some kind? I like that as well, which could open the way to having Warforged in the setting, but not calling them Warforged. We would need some other kind of name for them, but I like that. So not very common, but magically they can be created, often used in experiments, and we'll say probably more in line with the central island. Okay, so I'm going to jump through, because this will be like the longest video if I don't do this, but like limits of spec, we're going to talk about, or, that is our, your life force to create a magical item. And then constructs are common. Their role is servant. We'll say role is servant. I can't spell. The difficult or mundane tasks. And now we're going to jump over to mood and interesting races. So let's go back here and we'll jump over to mood 2. So this again is more for our novel instead of a campaign setting. But the jux of it is that they want us to reevaluate the adjectives we use to describe our setting. And then from that exercise, really solidify that this is the thing we want to do. But I liked this aspect here where it says, look at what you decided to name your speculative element, whether you call it the Force or Mana or Warp Drive or Cybernet or whatever, something like that. How does it impact, how you name your speculative element has an impact on your reader will feel about it. Say the name out loud and decide if you feel the way you want to feel when you read your novel. We have just magic, but I think something that I've been saying a lot is Pact magic. And let's just talk. Like, what does that make you feel? Like, Pact magic. Is that good? Is that bad? Like, I'm leaning towards bad, but I'd be curious about what you guys say. Like, does Pact magic need its own magical name? Maybe something that sounds good, but there's a not a derogatory, but like a bad slang name because it's like, oh, it always ends up bad for you to do that. I think that there should be, but like, I don't know. I've always just called it Pact magic, and I kind of like I like the feeling that invokes in me, but I'm not really sure how it invokes in other people. So we're going to say Pact magic is probably, it's a separate type of magic because you're getting it bestowed upon you by a magical creature. that is different than studying and being a wizard and things like that. So, or just being innately magical, like a magical creature, such as a fae or something. So Pact magic. What could we call Pact magic? And I'm going to make this orange so that I know to look at it later tomorrow. What rare and interesting races populate your world? That is today's challenge. And coincidentally enough, we were talking about constructs, we're talking about magic and things like that. I mean, Warforged, maybe? But like, I'm not leaning because I don't just want to incorporate every race. And I feel that if I say that Warforged are allowed, all of a sudden this becomes like an Eberron ripoff, and I don't want that. But if you are running this game, if you're running a game in Endagar and you want a Warforged, then you can create a very situational specific reason to have that. I played a Warforged in a custom homebrew campaign, and I played that creature because I was a construct built by a wizard as his bodyguard. And then when the wizard went missing, I joined with a team of people to, save the wizard that made me. And that wizard was tied to the rest of the party for other reasons and things. But my character's name was Seven because I was the seventh one created. And we established that every city had like one of these, and the major, 8 cities had these. And so I ran into like brothers of mine that were other constructs that I was like, oh, this is so cool. But we were unique and special, and not a lot of people knew what a Warforged were. And we just used the stats for Warforged. So that being said, that's what I want for this campaign, or for Endagar. Like, if you want to use it, that's up to the DM and the player to have a conversation, but to not have them everywhere like they are in Eberron. So let's look at our races and just see what we like. This might be an opinion. Like, I should do a top 10 or something, strictly on lore about the races, and I guarantee you the bottom of my list is going to be Dragonborn, because I don't like anything about them. I don't like Dragonborn. Dwarf, elf, gnome, half-elf, halfling, half-orc, human, all of those generic, they're in the world in some capacity. Tieflings, we were talking about tieflings being not so much a separate race, but the long-term effects of Pact magic. So the more you are bestowed Pact magic from this devil, most likely, the more you look like a tiefling and you get tiefling traits. And I think that translates also into the spells that they get. If you're a tiefling of Mammon or whatever, you can cast Arcane Lock or something like that. And so that again is like, I'm getting more gifts the more I serve or work with this person. So in Endagar, could you be a tiefling cleric? I'm leaning towards no. Like, I think that's another conversation, but if you're going to ask Jordan, like, would he allow that in his setting? It's like, not really. Now you could be a tiefling fighter. Tiefling like Eldritch Knight or a Tiefling Warlock is ideal, but a Tiefling Ranger, a Tiefling Druid, no. Like, those just don't really make sense. But if you could somehow work in the city, Tiefling Monk, maybe? So that's a tricky one, and I'm really limiting class and race with that. And I don't know, do you guys think, is that a good thing? Is that bad? Does it make the setting unique, or does it just make it restrictive and I don't want to play it now? That's a big conversation to have, actually. Bigger than this video at the moment, but maybe we'll tackle it later on. But from my standpoint, if you choose to be a tiefling, that has huge implications. Because whether you are a warlock or not, the people in Endagar are going to view you as that, and as like evil and corrupted and stuff. So there's a burden that comes with this, and same with Asmar. And that's the flip side of it. Like, you're half angel or whatever. That has huge implications. Orcs are going to be more of an Exandria orc. or a Eberron orc, where they are more like naturey, in tune with the things like that. So, but I don't have a specific history for them yet, and maybe that is not something I need to focus on just now, but something to explore later on, especially if a player wanted to play an orc. Then we could go into a lot of history about that. Leonin satyrs, I don't think so. Eric Hokra, probably, maybe you find them on the plane of air, but not really in Endagar. Genasi, we talked about being magical experiments and trying to bind a elemental spirit rather than into a construct or into a magical weapon or something like that. Can we bind an elemental spirit directly into a human? And I think the Genasi are the product of that. So you could be a Genasi anything, but you are like, you look human, but the world doesn't treat you well, especially the Pact Keepers and the Quadrivium, because you're their failed experiment, quote unquote. I don't know. Goliath just seems like really strong humans in a way, but maybe up in the north, this is where they live, and they are rune magic and things like that is what I imagine. Asmar, we talked about that. Bugbear is part goblin and hobgoblin, so these are all going to have the same thing. Furbolg, I think, are going to be an enigma. Maybe they're the Tom Bombadil. I think I brought that up, like of Endagar. So maybe there's like one or two, and maybe they're from a different thing. I'm not really sure about that. I love kobolds. Don't have kobolds in Endagar, and I don't know if I should, because I don't have a lot of dragons. I have one dragon, so kobolds didn't feel right, and we'll see. Lizard folk, I think lizard folk are going to inhabit another island, maybe another planet, another plane or something. And they are exploring and just discovering the continent or the area of Endagar that we're building. But nobody really knows who or what they are. Tabaxi, don't really see Tabaxi. Tritons, don't really see true Tritons. Yuan-Ti Pureblood, I think, is another failed experiment. So something there with trying to channel spirits or elemental energy into a creature. You're creating something weird. So if you were a Yuan-Ti, you're probably the only Yuan-Ti, or maybe there's a very small group of you that are existing. But I do love Yuan-Ti. I think they should be there. Tieflings, turtles, maybe an island has some turtles on it. I don't know. That's a hard one. Changelings, no. Kalishtar, no. Shifters, no. Warforged, we talked about that. Gith, no. They're just space elves. They don't belong in Endagar just yet. Centaur, if you go to the Feywild, if you're coming from the Feywild, maybe. Loxodon, no. Minotaurs, yes. I do like Minotaurs, and I think this actually is going to answer the question. Rare and interesting species are the Minotaur. But why are they... Well, they're rare because there's not a lot of them. But why are they interesting? Maybe they're the true keepers of Endagar's history. And through a ritual or something, they have added to the great telling of the world of Endagar and all of the things. And they're not like, maybe they're like the Watchers, where they kind of, they're not here to stop. They're not here to, this is bad, but they are here to observe and to write. And so the great lore bards of Endagar could be the Minotaurs. Veldakeen and Simic Hybrid are very Magic the Gathering. Verdan is a really cool race that I enjoy, but I don't think has a place necessarily in Acquisitions Incorporated, unless the Verdan are the ancient goblins, and you as a goblin can eventually like level up into a Verdan. That could be interesting. So maybe we'll do that. Okay, so I wrote the Verdan race is on a path of clearing their curse and becoming more like the Verthandi, but I don't think they'll ever truly become the Verthandi. But I like the Jorphdan. I like their telepathicness and stuff. That kind of feels like they were the original Verthandi, and I didn't even plan this, but Verthandi and Jorphdan, they're very similar. So yeah, maybe this is if someone wanted to play a goblin, I think I would want them to play a Jorphdan more than a regular goblin. But I like that. So I'm going to write it here in our playable races. We're going to say Jorphdan, Jorphdan, the redeemable goblin, not quite a Verthandi, but closer than most goblins. And the Minotaur. So I wrote Minotaur, the secret lore keepers of Endagar, working in cities and living in nature. They chronicle the going-ons in Endagar. A collective store of knowledge exists with the Minotaur that can be accessed via dreams to those worthy. So how do they write to this is what I'm trying to think. Like, do the Minotaurs of Endagar imprint is, I guess, a good word. So now we're creating a new, I wrote the Minotaurs of Endagar imprint the history of the world to the dreamscape. So now I'm inventing a couple of things. One, there is a process that if you are worthy, you could get certain questions answered via this Minotaur path or ritual or something to get knowledge from dreams. And then we created a new place called the Dreamscape. And maybe that is just like the collective psionicness of Endagar in a way. I'm not sure. You know, it's always been interesting. Like if the Earth is a brain, then all of the human beings are little neurons and we're connected and talking to each other and communicating. And is the entire universe's purpose of being is to understand itself, then allowing humans to evolve and to be able to communicate with each other and tell stories and understand, that's all part of a process where the universe is trying to understand itself. And maybe one day we'll all be connected and that Earth-like consciousness will wake up and will understand the meaning of the universe. And this could be a little play on that idea. So, hello, thank you for watching. Thank you for staying all the way to the end. We're back on track, days 16 and 17. And I think when I get off work, I go on Christmas vacation on the Monday. And with that, I'm hoping to get some of these videos done in the afternoon. And then in the evenings, maybe we can stream. And you guys can just ask me questions about Endagar and I can come up with it on the fly and we can do I think that'll be fun. So subscribe to me on Twitch if you don't. Twitch.tv/Jordan with a PH in the middle. And by subscribe, I mean follow. Sorry, I got YouTube terms. I'm not expecting money or I'm not affiliate. But yeah, follow me on Twitch. That's probably where I'm going to go live. And I don't know, we'll see. If there's a push to do it on YouTube. Streaming on YouTube is just so weird. Like, I get the sensation that nobody wants me to. But hey, maybe we could. This is where the videos are, so maybe we should do that. That's it. I'll see you guys tomorrow.